Today's episode is brought to you by Canby Foursquare Church. Since 1978, a place to grow, connect, and serve. In-person services are back with some restrictions to help ensure everyone stays safe and healthy. For the latest, visit their website at canbyfoursquare.com.
Welcome to Now Hear This Canby,
your source for news.
The threat of a possible teacher strike was avoided this week.
There's a new, irresistibly cute creature winning over fans, and its name is Scootaloo.
Sports?
It's like Lucy in the football. You want to kick a field goal, if they take it away from you.
We had to learn how to win.
Goal can't be in the last second of the game! And interesting conversations.
Because I'm one of the strongest girls ever, and I know that for a fact.
I just really enjoy writing gossip as if I was a bear.
With an old maid daughter that make the best moonshine in the coast.
And if it would have hit me in the face, I think I would have died. I really do.
I guarantee you would have died, man. Are you kidding me?
Hey friends, and welcome to Now Hear This Canby podcast. Thank you for listening. I'm James Walton, and this is what's happening this week in our community. The Canby School Board on Monday voted to list the historic Caris School Waite building for sale in the hopes of removing, or if necessary, demolishing the structure to rework the property's cramped parking area. Pursuant to the state's strict rules for designated historical buildings, the district must list the property for sale for at least 90 days. The asking price will be $1, but interested buyers will be required to remove and relocate the structure at their own expense. No physical land will be included in the sale. If the listing has failed to attract any interest after 3 months, the district may move forward with the demolition. District Communications Director Kristen Wohlers said the former school building has, quote, decayed to the point that it is no longer suitable for use by students and staff, and that for sale signs will go up later this month. The project is part of a planned work at the Caris Elementary School campus made possible through the $75 million capital improvement bond the district's voters approved in May of 2020. Wohlers explained that the building's removal will help pave the way for the completion of bond work at Caris, including improved safety at the main entrance, better traffic flow, and additional parking. Located at 14412 South Caris Road, the Craftsman-style bungalow was built circa 1926 and has served the Caris area as a schoolhouse, meeting hall, community center, and Sunday school for the Methodist Church over the decades. It is 2 stories tall and contains approximately 4,700 square feet. It was one of only 2 schools in the Oregon City Beavercreek area that dates to the motor age and was noted for the high quality of its design and construction, which was unusual for non-residential properties built in that period. The Waite building is on the list of designated historical sites for both the state and Clackamas County. More than 4,000 Oregonians have died due to complications from COVID-19. State officials announced on Monday, surpassing a somber milestone even as other pandemic indicators show continued improvement. A full quarter of that number, that's 1,000 deaths, came in just the past 2 months as the state suffered its worst yet surge of COVID-related infections and hospitalizations fueled by the more contagious Delta variant. Oregon Health Authority Director Pat Allen said the 2 milestones in such quick succession tell the story of how severely the Delta variant has ravaged Oregon communities and are all the more heartbreaking considering that many could have been prevented by the free and widely available COVID-19 vaccines. Allen said, quote, COVID-19 vaccines are widely available throughout Oregon, and they are our best protection against serious illness and death from this virus. My message to Oregonians today is simple. The Delta variant has changed everything. Please get vaccinated as soon as you can. Despite the grim milestone, state officials also reported the number of newly identified coronavirus cases declined in Oregon for a 6th straight week on Monday, while hospitalizations and test positivity rates also continued to trend downward. In the Canby zip code, OHA recorded slightly more than 120 new COVID-19 infections over the past 2 weeks, down from more than the 160 identified over the previous 2-week period. More than 10% of the community's population has been sickened by the virus since the pandemic hit Oregon in March of 2020. Canby's infection rate of 1,007.1 cases per 10,000 residents remains the highest in Clackamas County. The COVID outlook at Canby School District also appears to have greatly improved as students and teachers enter their second month of full-time in-person learning. The district is reporting 7 students and 1 staff member have tested positive, with another 24 students in quarantine. A total of 72 students and 7 staff have experienced confirmed cases since the academic year began at the end of August. A single occupant in a home on Beverly Drive in Oregon City perished in an early morning house fire on Monday. Clackamas fire crews arrived at the scene of the single-story residence at approximately 1:37 a.m. to find the structure heavily involved with black smoke pouring from multiple windows. Firefighters deployed hose lines and began searching the home for occupants, finding only one, who was not identified. Paramedics attempted every life-saving effort, but sadly the individual died at the scene. No other injuries were reported. The cause of the fire is under investigation by Clackamas Fire and Oregon City Police. A total of 22 firefighters responded to the scene to bring the fire under control. North Clackamas School Board member Libra Forday announced her bid for the Clackamas County Commissioner today, challenging 3-term incumbent Paul Savas. "We are at a critical crossroads for the future of Clackamas County, and we need a county commission that is up to the challenge," said Forday, who is also the chief operating officer of Self Enhancement Incorporated, a community nonprofit offering resources to minority youth and families, especially those living in poverty. "We must aim higher and be bolder if we are to meet the moment. I will bring to the job an effective management style, a needed perspective, and a commitment to deliver real results for our communities." Forday grew up in New York City as the only child of a single parent. Her mother was a model and her father was a Broadway actor. Her grandfather was one of the first black men to drive a tank in the U.S. Army. Her background includes a stint playing professional basketball overseas, after which began a career working with young children with special needs. She later married an active duty service member and founded a first-of-its-kind educational program to better serve children in military families. She was appointed to the North Clackamas School Board in February 2019 and later won election to that same body. In a press release, she promised to bring a focus on education and supporting young families to her role on the commission, if voters agreed to send her to the county seat. Forday's other priorities include ensuring Clackamas is an inclusive county that works for all, supporting frontline workers and military service members, and being effective and accountable in government. Forday, Savas, and any other candidates who emerge before the March 8th deadline will spar in the May 17th, 2022 primary. Any candidate who receives at least 50% of the vote will win the office outright. Otherwise, the top 2 vote-getters will face off in the November general election. The position 5 seat on the Board of Commissioners, currently held by Sonia Fisher, is also up for grabs next year. It has no filers as of Sunday. Other open offices at the county include Assessor, Clerk, Treasurer, and Justice of the Peace. And that'll do it for the news on this episode of Now Hear This Canby. I'm James Walton. As always, thanks for listening and have a great day.
And now, a message from Donna Ellison of Ellison Team Homes.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to take this moment to invite you personally to come and hang out with us for our end of season client event. It's a thank you to all the wonderful people we've done business with, as well as a welcome to a lot of our community. I'm doing this in partnership with Vanessa Zimmerman team at Academy Mortgage. It's just kind of our way of saying thank you. We've really enjoyed getting to know you, doing business with you, etc. We'll be outside. We're sensitive to the fact that we're in COVID, still dealing with that. So it will be spread out. People will have room to breathe and sit and walk and talk. Reckless Company, if you've never heard them before, they're awesome. They're going to be playing. We'll have TMK here. I can't wait to try the corn dog. I've been waiting like 2 years to try this corn dog. So it looks amazing, and I've heard it's amazing, and I think there's quite a following. Also, they'll have all kinds of other food. We'll have beer and cider. Everything's hosted, of course, as a thank you. Again, it's for our clients. It's for our community. We really, really want to come and celebrate. We'll have swag for you, all kinds of fun things for the kids. We hope to see you on 9/16 from 4 to 8 in the afternoon.
Hi, I'm Megan Waterman. I'm the owner and operator of the Book Nook in Canby, Oregon.
And I'm Tyler Clausen of Now Hear This Canby, the show you're listening to. Megan, the Book Nook is one of my favorite places in all of Canby. It's a one-stop shop for gifts, board games, new books, used books, and books from local authors. Why did you decide to open it?
Well, I love the power of a story. I love how reading about different people and places, times, stretches my mind. It makes me see the world differently, whether that's a fantasy story or a biography. It all changes the lens that I see and how I interact with people. The reason that we added games to our store is for that same reason. It's just a different way to experience story through gameplay.
And along with the new selection, you're at a new location, right?
We are. We just moved, technically just across the intersection to the old Parsons building. We've expanded our space and also our selection. So we've got more books, more gifts. We added a larger gaming section. And now with the world opening back up a little bit more, we're starting to relaunch some of our events. We have relaunched our general fiction and our fantasy book clubs, and those are going great. And we're about ready to kick off game nights, starting with our beginner Dungeons and Dragons camp, led by Canby's very own Tyler Clausen.
Hey, that's me! If you're interested in D&D, make sure you stop by the Book Nook and get more information about role-playing opportunities there.
Yeah, or stop by anytime and chat with one of our booksellers about their current book recommendations and let us help you find your next favorite read. We're now open on Sundays as well, so we're there 7 days a week.
Nice. The Book Nook is in downtown Canby or online at booknookcanby.com.
On the Canby Conversation today, I'm so excited to be able to welcome back one of my dear friends, Ray Keane of the Canby Center. Hi, Ray. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
It's been a little while.
It has. A couple things have happened, you know.
I think you were actually my first live interview when the pandemic hit. And we came and we were sitting at this desk and talking about how you guys had gone from all of these different programs to just food for a couple of months because it was such a high need. But a lot has happened. I don't know if people listening had realized there's been over the past year or two a number of calamitous events that have affected our community. And there's been a lot of talk about leadership and through crises, and both locally and obviously state and region and nation. And on all those levels as well, division. A lot of talk about that. Mm-hmm. You and some other local folks and some local groups are putting together an event, a really unique, one-of-a-kind event later this month that's going to kind of delve into some of this stuff. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's called Canby Community Summit, and the idea is fairly simple. It's a relational process of getting Canby's leaders together so that they might get to know one another a little bit, laugh a little bit, and remember the common goals, really, that we all share.
Mm-hmm. So my understanding, you guys cast a pretty wide net to try to bring...
We did.
At least invite everybody to the table.
I'm sure we missed a few, but we tried our best not to. So about 125 invitations have gone out to civic leaders with the city, police, fire, mayor, city council members, school board leaders, leaders within the school district, thinking about also our business leaders in the community, other nonprofit leaders, and spiritual leaders too, faith leaders in the community, and just inviting all those folks together for a very, very special night. And, really the dinner just is there to facilitate the strengthening of relationships among Canby's leaders for the purpose of strengthening our community.
Yeah. To that topic of division, so some of those folks you mentioned, and we won't say any names, but have...
Well, I was going to say you,
obviously me is a huge problem. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But, folks disagree, misalign a lot of times privately. Some of those folks very publicly have had disagreements and whatnot. And when we talk about division, and people talk about this a lot, because it's a problem, and it's something people feel emotionally, I think, when they see families breaking apart, maybe friends, a long time, because of something said on social media or whatnot. It feels very one-directional, right? Like, things are just getting worse and worse. And then you're talking about this event, and we're going to bring some of these people that we know don't see eye to eye about certain things into the same room. Is that a little scary? What was the thinking about, let's do it this way?
Well, I have two responses as I share this idea with people. And the first response is, wow, that sounds a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
Do you realize what could happen?
Yes.
And then, the other response, usually immediately following that is such a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm so glad somebody is working to strengthen our community by getting people in the same room together.
Yeah.
I think one of the challenges is just pretty simple, and that is, folks who serve together on a council or on a committee or in other ways, sometimes we don't get an opportunity to get to know each other as people.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that we're all going to, want to enjoy life in the same way or do the same things, but we do have a lot of common ground in terms of the goals that we pursue for our community,
right.
In the way that we'd like this to be a place where our children and grandchildren would really thrive and grow. And so when you think about it, at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of things that we share in common. And if we can get past some of the stuff that gets in the way of that, when we think about our own perspectives and our own interests and our own position, sometimes when we can see that there's another person on the other side of the table, it can really help us actually to collaborate in a stronger way to achieve those goals.
Right. I know you've been getting a lot of questions, Ray, about so what exactly are we doing at this night? I mean, I picture like trust falls, and we're gonna get the blindfolds out, and we're gonna do camp type challenges.
Didn't I tell you were signed up for the trust fall?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
You've got that station then. That's great. Okay.
Do I get to pick who I catch?
Well, no. It's going to be pre-selected for you. And we've found your favorite friends and enemies
to catch me.
To be in the trust fall. No, I mean, I think in many ways people can expect just a wonderful evening.
Yeah,
it's going to be
entertainment and food.
Michael Allen Harrison is a well-known pianist in the area. He does the 10 Grands concert series. He will be there that night, bringing special music. We have some humor planned for the night, because I think it's important when people come together, especially when we might see things from a different perspective. It's important that we have an opportunity just to take a little bit of the pressure off and laugh a little.
Yeah.
So
it opens so many doors.
It opens some doors. So excited about that stuff. We're also, as I touched on briefly, we're going to have some table talk around the table, some time dedicated where about 8 leaders at a table will speak into particular questions that will be preformed for that night. One example of a question is, in Canby, what kinds of characteristics or values would you like to see shared with or strengthened for future generations? And I think a question like that gets us processing what has Canby meant to us in the past in terms of our history, but also what is the possibility for Canby? What are some of those values that we'd maybe like to see brought into the community or strengthened in the community? So hopefully there's a place for folks who, maybe seeing that from either ends of the spectrum, and that they will have a voice there that night. those questions will be circulated around the table, and then we'll gather up some of the detail about responses to those questions. And at the end of the night, we'll summarize that and bring it back to the whole audience. So that night, everyone will have a sense of what was shared at the table. Yeah, so it's just an example of part of what we're doing that night to help strengthen relationship and strengthen some more collective intelligence about what Canby is.
Yeah. I can see that being really cool
Yeah.
and really helpful. I'm a little disappointed you didn't take my idea, which I felt was a good idea, which was, take all the funds for the food and the entertainment and just, nix that stuff and just open bar. Just open bar all night long, and people are gonna be feeling good and put their differences aside and just have a good time, or we're just going to destroy the whole town. But one way or another, we're going to work some stuff out.
We're going to work it out. That's for sure. Yeah.
I want to ask...
We couldn't afford the metal detector at the door that would be necessary. I'm sorry.
Fair enough. Yes. Okay. That makes sense. That totally tracks. I do want to ask your motivation and the other folks organizing this, because it's really, something that's important to our community's health and future, that we can get past some of this stuff. And maybe, as you said, not necessarily love each other and be best friends and not even, totally buy into each other's views or whatnot, but at least understand and be able to work together without animosity, right? Respect one another.
Yeah.
Is that your motivation? Do you see this as sort of a community health type thing, or what is your motivation here?
I mean, the mission of Rotary International really directs us as Rotarians to be those kind of people who promote peace. Usually Rotary does that with its 1.2 million members on a very international scale.
Yeah.
So you think of Afghanistan and Pakistan coming to the table to have conversations. Rotarians oftentimes are facilitating that kind of dialogue. But we sense a need in our community for this component of peacemaking at this time with the leaders that I interact with on a regular basis. I know many of them are weary. They are a little bit struggling to see the way forward. And I think some of that just has to come through relational process. It really just has to. When you think about an IQ test. Somebody sits down to take an IQ test. An IQ test is really good at assessing somebody's capacity to solve a fairly straightforward, kind of well-defined, boundary set sort of problem. And usually there's like one right answer.
Yeah.
But our community has many problems that we are facing right now. Pandemic is just one of those problems that we're facing, and there isn't a singular, simple right answer to that kind of problem. Problems like that require a great deal of creativity through connection of relationships with other people, and through really collegial dialogue that's going to help build answers to these kind of problems. I mean, there's other challenges we face in our town too. Housing is an issue. Thinking about traffic flow and some of those sort of things. Education, how do we keep our kids in school and keep people safe? These problems don't have singular answers. They require us to get along to some degree or another and come up with collaborative solutions. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And this night specifically, are we going to be looking at some of those problems? Not so deep. It's more about on a personal level.
Yeah, I think we won't be diving into the particulars of those problems. My hope is that the groups that are already established and some of those councils and others will use that night really as a way to build better relationships so that in their teams they're able to solve those problems more collaboratively. That's the goal. It's not our place to try and take over any sort of control of anything in town, but to actually strengthen the units that are already in place.
And so this idea really emerged out of your role as president of the Canby Rotary. Interesting that, it's so sort of extra Rotary focused, right? Like, if I were president of Rotary, I would think, I know you've done a number of things as well, but like, I would say, okay, how can I improve Rotary? It'd be very like, focused on the club that I'm the president of, and this is an initiative that's extremely outward focused and on a number of other groups and organizations.
Well, I think that goes without saying that one of the best ways to help grow any sort of organization is to move from a place of looking at the inside of who you are and how you operate to thinking about your place in the world and how you bring benefit to others.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the areas that Rotary really has the opportunity to bring great benefit to others. And I think it's our time to step forward in that. As I began to wrestle through the question of who else is going to step up and bring Canby's leaders together at this time to have some dialogue and build better collaboration, I just wasn't coming up with those names. I think it really is on our shoulders at this time to respond and to care. And I also believe that as we do that, as Rotarians, we're going to see Rotary grow stronger through the process. We're already seeing people express interest in joining Rotary, and a lot of that comes out of doing things that are meaningful.
Right.
This is probably one of easily the top 10, maybe the top 5 issues in our community right now that is on everybody's heart and mind.
Yeah.
And Rotary wants to be a part of bringing some solutions to the table.
Yeah. Is your hope and expectation that this becomes an ongoing type of recurring event, or at least conversation, that it's not just a one-off, one-night thing?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because I've been to those events before, and you have too, probably, where you thought it was going to be one thing, but then you show up and it's sort of a bait and switch.
Yeah.
I'm really against the bait and switch approach. So what people can expect,
sell us timeshares?
Right? What people can expect, they can just expect to come and have a great evening and walk away. I hope many will walk away feeling more compelled to find ways to work together than to dig in more to particular views. So my hope is that that's what people feel. There is some space being created through this event to allow for an event next year of some form, some fashion. Maybe it's not focused on this issue, but I think there's real value in gathering Canby's leaders once a year for things that are on the top of our priority list as a community. I think the neighbors that we serve those neighbors that we serve in our community, they really expect us as leaders to be doing this kind of work, to be working collaboratively to solve problems. And when they see division and discord, I think it really increases distrust and just creates more problems in the community. So our hope is that next year we're talking about something slightly different, but that we're gathering again as leaders. That would be good. I also know that there'll be some folks there that night who are highly interested in seeing this kind of an approach taken in their community. So other communities around us are watching. They're paying attention to how do you address the division and discord that seems to be prevalent in our nation at this time? And how do you do that on a local level? Cool. This is just a beginning. That's all it is. It's just a beginning. But I don't think I would sleep well at night knowing that we had the chance to begin a process or a season of better collaboration, and we didn't take that step because it was risky or something. So,
No, I love one thing that I really love about it, and we've talked about this as well a little bit during this conversation, but there's this sense of sort of hopelessness and sort of inevitability about our division. It's almost, to some people, it's a punchline, something to joke about, and sort of a dark, kind of cynical joke, but that it's just immutable at this point. And I think some people can go that route, but I think it's, and maybe some people aren't going to change, but I think it's very bold and humanizing of everyone to try, right? To at least say, no, I think that all of us can do better, and I'm not just gonna say that like let's do better, like a almost like a shame type thing, like do better, but like no, let's actually all come together, and I'm gonna put myself out there because I really do believe that you're a person and we can, and that you have value, and that we can all do better as a community. So
absolutely.
So thank you for doing that. Glad it's your neck on the line. Anything else to share, Ray?
We know that this event won't eliminate conflict in Canby, but we do see it beginning a season of collaborative problem solving and deepening personal respect between leaders. We're not requiring any sort of an ongoing commitment from people, and that's with intention. I think the ongoing commitment that we're seeking out is the very same thing that we would want from any of our neighbors, that they would have an authentic care for one another, that they would take the time to stop and understand before, taking steps to accuse or anything along that line. I think as we make some steps in that direction, our community will just continue to be a place that's great to live. I love Canby.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people who love Canby. And one of the best ways we can invest in the future of Canby is through the relationships that are all around us.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Ray, well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hey, Frankie, what are you doing?
I'm trying to figure out which TV option I want to use when DirectLink turns off their video services in January of next year. It's so confusing. Do you know there's about 48 million streaming services to choose from? Which devices do they work on? What channels do they offer?
No, I did not know that. But you do realize that you're probably better off than you think. If you have DirectLink's Easy Video TV now, you're already using a streaming service. But listen, you don't have to go this alone. DirectLink is actually helping their members transition to their next video provider. The company has an extensive informational website where you can compare popular services, and they host live tutorials on streaming TV options to help you decide.
Well, hold the phone. Are you saying that they're actively trying to help their members switch to a competing service? Who does that?
Well, DirectLink does. I mean, I guess it's one more chapter in their long history of wanting the best for our community. They've actually offered free classes for the past 12 years that teach our neighbors about the latest technology and internet security practices. And don't forget, they also orchestrated that popular bingo game last year that helped keep everyone entertained and connected during the lockdowns. They've also launched special programs to help keep our students connected at home during the pandemic, and partnered with the city of Canby to give free Wi-Fi year-round at 3 local parks for locals and visitors alike.
Wait, DirectLink does all that?
They do indeed, and that's on top of providing the best and most reliable internet and voice services in town. So, to learn more about DirectLink services or how they can help you transition to the right video service for your home, visit directlink.coop today.
Are you a healthcare hero? Do you want to become one? Are you looking for a position where you are valued, your time is your own, and you have ample opportunity for growth? Marquee Companies at Hope Village in Canby, Oregon offers all of that and more. They are currently hiring nurses, caregivers, CNAs, and enrolling students in their free CNA course. From competitive wages and up to $25,000 tuition reimbursement to flexible schedules and the opportunity to make a positive impact on someone's life, Marquee at Hope Village is the right place for you. Take your career to the next level and apply now to become a valued team member at Marquee at Hope Village in Canby. To learn more or apply today, text CURRENT, that's CURRENT, to 888-906-3432.
Canby Then is brought to you by Retro Revival. They are not your average antique shop. They're open daily, and you can find them on the corner of Northwest 3rd and Grant Street in downtown Canby. If the city of Canby were a wheel, then Waite Park would be the hub. The city revolves around it. It is the host of many of the city's most popular and well-known events, from the Canby Independence Day celebration, once known as General Canby Days, to Light Up the Night, which draws thousands to downtown Canby each year to help ring in the holiday season. Today marks the start of a new series on Canby Then, looking at the history of the city's parks. They play a much more important role than you may realize. They are the places children play, yes, but one day those children grow up, and the lives they lead and the futures they build are shaped in no small part by the dreams that first began to take shape on the playgrounds of their youth. Waite is the city's oldest park. Though it was not officially deeded to the Canby until 1967, its history goes back much further than that. The property that would one day become Waite Park was part of the original 1870 plat for the city of Canby filed 150 years ago. It was part of the original donation land claim of Canby that founding father Philander Lee, the Oregon Trail pioneer who grew amazing whiskers, but also apples, which he shipped by train and sold to miners during the California Gold Rush. Just to the north was the claim of Aaron E. Waite, whose descendants would eventually own the land and donate it to the city, and after whom the park is named. Waite is a fascinating and influential figure in early Oregon history. It is well known that he was the first Chief Justice of the state's Supreme Court, but he was so much more than that. Aaron Waite was born in Whately, Massachusetts, on the day after Christmas in 1813. His father was a soldier in the War of 1812, which actually lasted until 1815, and was killed in action shortly after Aaron was born. He was raised by his uncle and grandfather. At the age of 14, he became an apprentice broom maker in Hatfield and put the money he earned towards his own education. At age 20, he moved to Long Island, New York, where he taught country winter schools and was an assistant teacher in Erasmus Hall, though he would later confess he never really liked teaching. He eventually returned to Massachusetts before moving west in 1837 and settling in Centerville, Michigan. There he befriended Judge Columbia Lancaster, who would also be influential in the early governance of both Oregon and Washington state. Young Aaron had taken an interest in political matters since he was a boy, a biographer once noted, and he had always been a Democrat. During the presidential campaign of 1844, he edited a Democratic paper in Michigan and afterwards held the office of military secretary in the cabinet of Governor John L. Barry. In the spring of 1847, Waite headed to the Oregon country in a wagon train of 40 ox-drawn wagons. His party included Judge Lancaster and Lancaster's small family. They arrived safely in mid-September of that year. Watchful care was exercised, and no serious accident nor difficulty occurred on the journey, Waite's biographer noted. Other than being tiresome, the journey was not an unpleasant one. The one colorful episode history preserves involved the spectacles Waite wore for nearsightedness. Native Americans who noticed the strange facial adornments asked what they were for, and Waite said they allowed him to see a long way off. The natives avoided him after that. They had misunderstood his explanation to mean that the spectacles made it so he could see anything, anywhere. Once in Oregon, he set up a law practice in Oregon City and entered into an agreement with Oregon's first governor, George Abernathy, to edit the fledgling Oregon Spectator. The Spectator was the first American newspaper west of the Rocky Mountains and would soon become the main paper of the region, used by politicians for public debate of the leading topics of the day. It had little competition. Before the Spectator, the only newspapers circulated in the territory were tiny pamphlets printed in San Francisco and Monterey, which were delivered by ship at random intervals, and, bizarrely, a paper based in Honolulu, Hawaii, which at the time was commonly known as the Sandwich Islands, for reasons that are much less hilarious than you might guess. Some folks also received letters and papers from the States once a year by immigrants coming down the Oregon Trail. When the Cayuse War broke out, sparked by the massacre of missionaries Marcus and Narcissa Whitman, whom Philander Lee and his family had met on their own journey to Oregon, Waite was appointed first assistant commissary under General Joel Palmer. While in that capacity, Waite was tasked with securing provisions for the troops in the field. No easy task. Legend has it that someone told him, "Go to God Almighty Smith." He was able to give. He won't, but you try him. This Alvin Thompson God Almighty Smith was an accomplished carpenter on the Tualatin Plains, which we know now as the city of Forest Grove. He was, in the word of one historian, a serious man who did serious work. He was a devout Christian from his boyhood days. His nickname had been bestowed on him by the Indians, who heard his frequent prayers to God Almighty. And as one of his contemporaries, Dolly Hinman, would recall, quote, "Mr. Smith was a very stern man, keeping the Sabbath from sundown Saturday to sundown Sunday, and woe betide anyone who did not do likewise." Obviously, Aaron Waite had his work cut out for him. He arrived at Mr. Smith's late in the day and made his errand known. Never one to make a quick decision, Mr. Smith said, "You must stay with me all night, and we will talk it over." Well, Old Man Smith must have heard a still, small voice during his prayers that night, because he did indeed agree to furnish equipment for the soldiers in the field and rendered other aid. He even accompanied Waite to another settler's ranch near the foothills, where the two men procured a drove of hogs for the War Department and its hungry soldiers. God Almighty Smith's home still stands on Elm Street in modern-day Forest Grove. It is the second oldest building in the city and was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1974. That house fell into disrepair and was even home to a meth lab in 2005, but was saved through the heroic fundraising efforts of the Friends of the Historic Forest Grove, which raised $175,000 to purchase and restore the property. Their efforts included, and I'm not kidding, a sexy calendar featuring members of the group in various nude poses. We were told it was quite tasteful. The name of the calendar, of course, was The History Buffs. God only knows what the good Alvin Smith would have thought about that. We'll have more to tell you about the adventures of Justice Aaron E. Waite and the Canby Park that bears his name, but it'll have to wait till next time on Canby Then.
Tyler, did you know that the Australian lyrebird can mimic any sound that it hears, even chainsaws?
No, that's super interesting.
Did you know that a baby puffin is called a puffling? Or that baby sea otters can't swim, so their moms wrap them up in pieces of kelp until they learn how to paddle?
Wait, do you know any trivia that isn't like animal related?
Not really, but here's some stuff you may not know about the Wild Hare Saloon, where Canby goes to eat and have fun.
Okay.
The Wild Hare is one of Canby's longest running locally owned restaurants. Owners Joan and Darren Moden have been in business for 16 years.
That's cool.
Yeah, heck, you were just a baby back then.
Wait, what?
And they love to give back. They've been members of the Canby Chamber for that long, and they donate over $20,000 to local sports, FFA programs, and civic organizations each year.
Wow, I'm legitimately caught off. That's cool.
Yeah, they also support more than 30 jobs in the community through their award-winning staff, some of them as young as 18. Hey, that's older than you are.
Dude, I'm 10 months younger than you.
With the days getting longer and the weather getting warmer, the Canby Wild Hare's expansive outdoor patio is the place to be. Furry friends welcome.
Well, that sounds great. I'm going to go check them out just off of Highway 99E next to the Space Age in Canby at 1656 Beavercreek Road in Oregon City, or on their website at thewildharesaloon.net. Now Hear This Canby is produced by me, Tyler Clausen. Our content director and star reporter is Tyler Frankie. And of course, our show is edited by Cameron Clausen. We also feature the vocal talents of Joyce Struby and James Walden, so a round of applause to them. The song that you're hearing right now is Canby by singer-songwriter Olivia Harms, used with her permission. To find more work from her, you can visit her website olivia13.com.
Now Hear This Canby is dedicated to preserving independent local journalism and redefining local news with our fun, fresh, and energetic brand of storytelling. Our sincere thanks to our local sponsors who make this show possible. Please show your appreciation by supporting the small businesses who support us.
The production of Now Hear This Studios, Canby's locally owned full-service audio, video, and media production company. Our mission is to produce the best content in the universe, and we'd love to help you do it. Find us online at nhtstudios.com.
I will take a motion to adjourn.
I just moved it.
I didn't even ask for it, though.